Hello, can you hear me? Are you wearing headphones? Are you in the shower? Are you in bed? Well, I'm Suzy Nakamura, and you're listening to You Might Know Her From with Damien and Anne.
I just saw Beanie on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Now she has tonsillitis, so I maybe saw her final performance.
Yeah, I love that Instagram post where she was like, guys, I have tonsillitis. And then she did a take to the camera with eyebrows raised that was like, isn't it hilarious? It's like, really, it's a horrible situation any way you cut it. And I do feel for her, but it really is giving me old school Broadway drama, which you know I love. I'm not happy for anybody to be raked across the coals, but I do love the fact that it feels like it's like all about Eve or something, you know?
Yeah, I love Beanie, and I thought, I guess first maybe we should say hello and welcome back to You Might Know Her From.
Welcome back to You Might Know Her From, our podcast where we shoot the shit with each other, talk about our aging bodies, pop culture comings and goings, and then we interview an actress or a non-cis performer each episode. Now that we have that out of the way, I'm Anne, this is Damien, and here we are to talk about Funny Girl on Broadway.
So I just saw Beanie. I went in with expectations that were like, okay, I heard that she can't really sing. I
Correct.
heard that she seems like she's miscast. I heard the production is a mess. I heard it's not directed well. I heard et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I had a lot of things that I was going in. Like I had heard so many negative things. So I went in and I was kind of like, whatever, it's not going to be good, but I'm excited to see an old school musical. I went with our dear friend Brenna. I had a few beverages. And then I just had such a great time. And yeah, she is not a great singer, but I had such a great time. And I would say that I don't get joy out of anybody getting raked across the coals, but that's not true. There are other people that I would probably take joy in, but she seems likable. She seems like she had reverence for has reverence for the theater and for taking on this role. So the drama is not interesting to me because she has received such negative press or bad reviews, but really because of just the showbiz, what really is the truth. And when she started that Instagram and was like, hey guys, has anything been happening? And I thought it was funny. I was like, I just wish she would come on Instagram Live and been like, they treated me like shit. I don't know why I was cast. Maybe I shouldn't have said yes. I want to just know the juice. And I feel like we're going to have to wait at least 15 plus years.
Yeah. How tight is that NDA? You know what I mean? Is she getting paid out? Does she have to pay out? How long are the lawsuits going to happen? When can she talk about it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. How long did it take before Patti LuPone ever really talked about the Sunset Boulevard stuff?
I'm not sure.
I don't even think I really understand what that really was, honestly.
She got paid out.
She did it in the West End and then got fired? Yeah,
and it was promised to her on Broadway. This is my memory of it. It was promised to her on Broadway, but then they brought it with Glenn Close. Instead, they took it to LA and then Glenn Close brought it to New York. But she had to get paid out. So Patti LuPone calls the pool in her, I don't know if she has a house in Connecticut or in Westchester or something, but she calls it her
pool.
Yeah, exactly. So she got paid out for that, and I'm hopeful that Beanie does too. Not that she needs the money or whatever, but it does seem horrible across the board. And I was rooting for her. I find her to be very lovable and likable on screen. She's a queer kid. I'm all on board for that. But I really have been thinking this thing that I haven't brought to you yet. And I was wondering if you thought that she and Ben Splat feel like their lives are these bizarro, worse versions of Jonathan Groff and Lea Michele, who are parallel lives.
Tweet it.
Parallel friendships. You know what I mean?
Fascinating.
I know. Well, because
That's really
Ben Platt and Beanie Feldstein both got dragged this year for their respective vanity projects. And here's Lea Michele, who
both
literally
had a hand in making happen.
Exactly. And here's Lea Michele, who is a horrible person, probably by all accounts, probably racist, threatened to shit in a person's wig on set of Glee. Jane Lynch is leaving the show a week before her contract was supposed to end so that she doesn't have to share the stage with one Miss Lea Michele. And here are Lea Michele's dreams all coming true. It's not even she gets a chance to work again. It's her biggest dream is now being realized on Broadway. And if she can do a remotely decent job, she's probably going to get rave reviews because they've bought into it.
Well, at least she's not eligible for a Tony because
they're gonna probably bring back the replacement Tony. You know what I mean? They're gonna bring
that used to exist.
I thought it existed for 2 seasons, but maybe it never did.
Maybe I think it was on Broadway.com. Maybe that's what you're confusing. Or maybe it was the Time Out New York Awards. You were confused.
I hope that we bleep Broadway.com since we'll never mention that website on this podcast again.
They fired me, and they can suck my fucking dick.
Anyway, I rooted for her because I'm all for, like, you know, I don't need somebody to do a retread of Barbra Streisand. It just can't be done. As we discussed with Hannah earlier today, it's like, just bring in Lillias White, you know, like, have a 70-year-old do the role. I do not care. She would be incredible. There's so many great people that can do the role. Julie Benko, who's understudying, is getting great reviews. Like, Lainey Kazan said that she got to do one performance and was like a rave, and then she never got to do it again because, like, that's how Broadway works. Barbra Streisand was made sure that she, like, never got to do it again. Lainey Kazan told us that on this very podcast.
That's true. Yeah. I think that the age thing, like, I think I can, like, no, there was that rumor that they were going to do it with Idina Menzel, and she was going to be, like, 50, being, like, an older Fanny Brice looking back at her life. And, like, now that I've seen the production as is, I'm like, well, I think I would be more into that idea. And
I mean,
I'm
that
not,
is
like,
built into the play, into the libretto, but it's, like, that opening scene where she has to, like, be a young person, they'd have to do something different.
I think I would have bought into it. And also, they would have... Also, like, I thought Jane Lynch was good, but I thought it was such an interesting choice to cast Jane Lynch when she looks nothing like Beanie Feldstein. It literally looked like me and you. She's like it's like a 6'1" woman in a heeled boot.
Like the most Gentile woman you could possibly cast as a Jewish woman.
If you have any casting ideas for Funny Girl, I would love for you to send them to us either in DM. You can send them in the version of a 5-star review on the Apple Podcast app. But I'd love to know who you think, because, you know, we've been talking about it at the aforementioned Idina Menzel or Lillias White, truly, Kiki Palmer. I was also like, can Vanessa Bayer sing? What is Marla Mendel doing? Why isn't she being employed on Broadway? Give me Sarah Jessica Parker.
Julia Lester, who's playing Little Red on Broadway and Into the Woods, is fucking incredible. I didn't even know she's like a Disney TikTok star. And when I saw her at City Center, I was like, this person's incredible. She's so good. I think she would be a great Funny Girl.
Marissa Jarrett Winokur. I'm into an elder funny, you know, a Fanny.
Same.
Funny Fanny.
I love the show. I thought the production was bad. I thought that they did a bad job with the direction of the show, and they didn't do Beanie any favors, and they should have taken it out of town so that if she was going to be embarrassed, it was going to happen in Seattle or San Diego or Philadelphia or Chicago. And, like, this is a blight, and she's going to have to go away for a while, and she's going to come back, and hopefully she'll tell all.
Yeah. She could have done it out of town like Faye Dunaway did Sunset Boulevard, and then she just never showed up.
Faye Dunaway was supposed to be on Broadway recently and something, and she never showed up. I love her.
I love her.
She's consistent.
If you're still listening, watch the clip of Faye Dunaway peeling a hard-boiled egg and have a great day.
Oh, my God. What a way to start the day. Folks, thank you for joining us here for our summer episode. I hope that you are also digging deep on all things Funny Girl. Also, if you have Lea Michele dish, if you're a Los Angeles or like a Broadway person, since Lea Michele was a Broadway baby, please send us those. They can be anonymous. You can create a Gmail that nobody has to know. It can be Lea1234shits with a Z at gmail.com, and just send us those deets because we need them. But welcome back to this month's episode. We are on summer hiatus right now, but we are playing fast and loose, which is why we are just, you know, here 15 minutes in, still going hard on 6'1" Jane Lynch. But we will be back weekly in the fall, but we're dropping you just a few gems here and there over the summer so that you don't forget about us, so you don't think that we're dead and gone. And we had, just like a really excellent guest this month. And it was a thrill because we got to do something we haven't done in 2 years, Damien?
Longer, I think.
Yeah. So we shut down for in-person interviews. Our last in-person interview was with Sasha Allen at the end of season 3, I believe. And that was in March of 2020. And I think that was our last in-person interview. We've been doing them on Zoom ever since. Damien and I see each other from time to time in person to record, but we interviewed one Miss Suzy Nakamura in person at her apartment before she went to take her COVID test and go do a Broadway show. Like, really, we were coming in real hot because we haven't been in the same room with an actress in many years.
Yeah, it was truly thrilling. I think that it was like going through those motions that were like, oh, can we still do this? You'll be the judge. Can we still do this? What were our normal routines? We took a photo in the elevator of just us, you know, like as we are approaching. We was like, am I gonna have to take my shoes off? Will we be able to set up the equipment and not fuck it up? Will Suzy be into us? Will we be into Suzy? And, you know, it was a total pleasure, but we were a little nervous. We also were like, do we want to tell Suzy that this is our first one in person?
Yeah.
But it was a real hoot. We got to talk to her about her pre-show routine. We got to talk to her about her making her Broadway debut. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. You might know her from Dead to Me
Avenue 5,
Dr. Ken,
Snowfall,
Afternoon Delight,
Funny People,
Strawberry Fields,
and the new Broadway show, POTUS. I can't even tell you that we are enthralled, overjoyed, excited to be here with none other than actress Suzy Nakamura. Suzy, thank you for being on the show.
Oh my God, thank you for having me.
This is really big for us, so we're just being transparent. Like, we're doing an in-person interview with you, which is a big deal. So thank you for having us over.
It's a big deal to me, too, because, we've been in sort of this Zoom nightmare for 2 years. And then it's like, oh, actually, we don't use Zoom. We use this other platform.
Horrible.
Please download it.
Right.
Also, do you have this, and this equipment? No, I don't.
No, and I don't want to learn
I don't.
Yeah.
So this is a joy.
It's a joy for us, and thank you for having us. Of course, right now you are making your Broadway debut in POTUS. So this is a stacked cast. It's you, Vanessa Williams, Julie White, Leah Delaria, Rachel Dratch, Lily Cooper, and Julianne Hough. Mm-hmm. So we're gay, and thank God you play a lesbian in this. We're very excited to find an example of you playing one. So you have this live comedy background that we're all very familiar with, but what was it about POTUS that was like, yeah, this is the thing that's going to get me to come to New York and do Broadway?
It was an easy decision, I have to say, because I know Julie and Rachel.
Okay.
And they were cast. And so I read the script, and my first scene, a lot of my scenes were with Julie, and I hadn't seen Rachel because she lives in New York and I live in Los Angeles. I hadn't seen Rachel in years. And it was just a dream to be able to work with them again, but also to be part of an ensemble, where we all kind of like, had these wonderful different roles. And then when I heard it was directed by Susan Stroman, it was kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It was kind of a no-brainer.
Did you do any prep to be like, I'm playing a lesbian, how do I prepare for this role?
No, because the lesbian part of her identity isn't part of the narrative or the story. It's part of her identity, and I just like I don't want to spoil. I'm trying to pick the right words because I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah.
But you didn't go to the cubbyhole with Leah Delaria to get in character.
No, I just went to Henrietta Hudson.
Okay.
Okay.
The last time we were there, somebody told you to take your hat off. There
Yeah, I
were
had
no
a
hats
baseball
allowed.
cap on, and they said no caps.
All right. Yeah.
So we're in your home. You have a show this evening?
Yes.
What is your pre-show ritual? Like, what do you do to get in the vibe? Like, what do you eat? What don't you eat? Like, what do you drink? What kind of warm-ups do you do? We're into it.
I mean, I'm struggling with this mystery allergy thing right now, so I'm trying not to eat yeast.
Oh my God.
Which is
Right
really,
before showtime, really tough.
It's really difficult because I'm from the Midwest, and we just kind of shove shit in our mouths without really knowing what it is, unfortunately. And I'm learning how to read labels and stuff right now, which is very difficult because everything seems to have yeast in it or wheat or I don't even know. Yeah.
I remember reading, I have this theory that whether or not this is true, it's like Angela Lansbury would have a steak and green Jell-O before a show, and this was what she did. Do you have anything like that? Or you're like, no, whatever it is that day, I'll just have it. You don't have anything that you have to have.
No, I mean, I avoid dairy because it creates mucus.
That's fair.
But I don't really, I'm Asian, so I don't consume a lot of dairy anyway.
Okay.
And I don't, Lily Cooper and I, because this show is very physical, it's a farce, so it's a lot of slamming doors and we're crawling on the ground, we're punching each other and all that stuff. And I early in the rehearsal, I said to Lily Cooper, we should probably warm up, we should probably stretch, before the show. And we never did it. It was never brought up again.
Okay, good.
And we joke about it. There's one entrance where we're kind of waiting together, and recently I just said, wasn't it funny how I thought we were going to warm up every day before this? We do have physical therapy, though.
Oh, nice. The paid for by the company.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
Twice a week. Look, I've got bruises.
That's true. You do up and down your arms.
And and during tech and during rehearsal, I was running. We were running into shit, and we were it's not. No one got hurt, thank God. But it's because it's such a physical show. We do kind of have to worry about protecting our joints and on our knees, and if you miss something, a doorknob can hit you in the back, and that kind of thing. I've run into the same table twice, not my fault. It's not my fault.
Who are you going to name the person whose fault it is here?
It was not where it was supposed to be. I mean, it was, but I felt it was closer than usual.
Got it. Okay.
That has yet to be confirmed. It was a feeling I had.
Yeah.
And there was a vase on it, and we were running in the dark. And Julianne was behind me, and I knocked the vase over, and she actually caught it.
Okay,
but then
yeah.
she also ran into the table.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say she's nimble, she's a dancer, but...
Oh, yeah, she's got really good reflexes.
Well, very cool. We're very excited to see it. And you guys are running through August, yeah?
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
August 14th.
Okay, so you also co-star on Armando Iannucci's HBO Max series Avenue 5, opposite Hugh Laurie, Josh Gad, Jessica St. Clair, and Nikki Amuka Bird. You play Iris, who's this like super no-nonsense assistant to Josh Gad's like Richard Branson like owner of the spaceship. So we were big fans of your vocal choices in this role. Like Iris sort of speaks with a deeper, authoritative voice than we are accustomed to hearing you speak with. I don't know if this is made up in our heads, but Can you come up with like, how did you come up with that voice if it was a choice? And like, do you always start with your voice when you're creating a character?
It depends. Like for Iris, I wanted there to be a little bit of a status difference between her and Josh's character, Herman Judd. And even though he's my boss, I didn't want to be sort of this. It's usually portrayed as sort of this, assistant that's either lower status or a sycophant or a, or I don't want to say. Can we say kowtow, or is that
I hear what you mean.
Insensitive?
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I don't want to be racist.
No, I hear you.
Can you say chop still?
Oh, I don't know. Like chop in what? Oh, like chop like speed up?
Yeah.
I never even thought about it.
I'm thinking about stuff like that.
You're telling me now.
Recently.
I'm never going to say it again.
But I don't know.
No, I know. But
I said something recently, and Anne was like, you can't say it anymore. I can't remember what it was.
What did I?
I think I was talking about like my family being Italian, and I was like, like we're ethnic, like, and you were like, no, you can't do it anymore.
Well, ethnic is problematic also because it implies anything other than white. So you're like an ethnic white person is like a Greek person or an Italian, but like also it's a problematic phrase.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So let's not
chop.
I never said chop. I never said kowtow, unless you could say that, and that's what I said. I wanted a higher status. Yeah. I wanted her to be older, and so I asked for white in my hair. So Iris wears, or I
cool
wear
hair.
I wear, streaks of white in my hair, and part of the design of this character was because it's 40 years in the future. It was kind of aspirational. And Armando is great because he allows us to collaborate with the department heads when we're creating characters like this. And there was a discussion about, in the future, what are we wearing? How is white hair in women viewed and that kind of thing? Do we wear leather? Do we feel it's too barbaric? Fur. What comes back that is old, And so I put white in Iris's hair. Iris wears a corset because that comes back as sort of a power thing.
Yeah.
And I basically did my mother's. My mother had a low voice.
That's very cool.
To me, that's status. Is my mother's voice, and she had she had a great vocabulary, and she when she said something, I listened. So I kind of lowered my voice, and I talked to Josh like a child. And
he's like a billionaire idiot.
Yeah. So I tried to balance that because, he's still her boss, but and I knew Josh before this. We worked together on another series. So it was really fun to play with him and have this relationship that basically became almost like a little older sister, little brother relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you keep him in line.
Yeah.
Who were you most excited to? Because the cast is also great. You knew Josh. What about Hugh Laurie and the rest of the cast? You know Jessica St. Clair.
Yeah, and I knew a lot of these people just by reputation, but I absolutely love Rebecca Front and Nikki Amuka Bird and Lenora Critchlow. So there's a couple Brits in the cast, and then there's Americans, and we just kind of get smushed together. But Americans know Hugh Laurie as House, right? And or with a night manager or whatever, and they think, oh God, he's a fantastic dramatic actor, which he is. But then I don't think people know that his roots are in comedy.
Right.
This is where he's comfortable, and where he shines. He's fantastic, and he can do anything. He can do physical comedy, and he does the really dry stuff, but he could be goofy. it's just been a joy to work with him because you could tell he's comfortable in this world.
Yeah.
And he loves to play and he loves to collaborate and he's a great ensemble actor.
He's also excellent as Vincent Minnelli, Judy Garland's gay husband, in Me and My Shadows.
That's so right.
He's so good. But I remember, I don't remember the order. I guess like that's when I knew him from. Though when House came on, I was like, oh, that's Vincent Minnelli.
I think he
really
can do
chameleon,
anything.
Yeah.
He can do anything, and it's just a joy to watch him be funny too.
Well, so it's on HBO Max right now. Season 1's available, and Season 2 is coming in the fall. So I hope that it keeps going.
Me too.
So one of the joys of this podcast is like us getting to dive into an actor's work. And so we were excited to discover like your 1997 indie drama, Strawberry Fields, which is like the coming of age story of a Japanese girl in the 70s who runs away with her boyfriend and ends up sort of having this story where she ends up back at the internment camp where her mother was interned. So you've spoken publicly about the fact that your parents were interned during World War II. And so we were sort of wondering, did you feel any trepidation? You were quite young when you took on this role in terms of like having it have such a personal connection to your own history.
There was no trepidation. And I was such like a young actor at that time. In my head, or my expectations were like, oh, this is easy. I'm going to just kind of be playing myself. My mother had died at that point, and there was this one scene that was at a memorial, and I couldn't connect the two, and I didn't understand why. Because I think it was sort of the realization that I'm not playing myself. And if I was, it's very difficult to be yourself, right? On command. And I thought, like, am I going to be nervous? Am I going to be too, swept up in grief to even be able to act or anything like that? None of that happened. None of that happened because I was at work.
Right. And you were like the lead of this film.
Yeah. And it was my first film, and I loved the process. It was absolutely fascinating. It was so difficult. I didn't understand how difficult it was going to be. And it was an independent film, so I was the first one there. As the lead, I was the first one there. I mean, other than the, like the wonderful grips and crew people, last one to leave, and the hours were brutal. We were working outside. You're wearing like thrift store clothes that smell like everyone who wore it before, and no sleep, little money. And there was one scene, one day that was absolutely awful. To shoot it in a bathtub, and then get out, go to lunch, and then get back in the bathtub.
Is that the matches scene where
after
you're like lighting
lunch,
all the matches? Yeah.
And that was the first time I thought, like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can be an actor. I didn't know it was going to be this difficult.
Right. Also, an independent film, it's not like they have somebody like getting the temperature of the water to the right.
And I came home and I was like, I cried. I cried after that day. I think I was like also exhausted.
Yeah.
But, there's this expectation of like, not that it's going to be easy, but it'll be fun and it'll be challenging and all the positive aspects of the work. But you never think you're going to be broken.
Right. Well, it seems glamorous. I would be like, oh my God, I'm the lead of this movie.
Right. And then like, I'm getting in the tub and then I'm going to go to lunch and then go back in the tub, But it was really tough. I really looked to my director for that because, I have to admit right now, I had no idea what I was doing.
Has your relationship to Strawberry Fields changed at all since it was your first film? Like because it has a personal connection, but also it was your first film and you're talking about sort of this baptism by fire making it, like, has it changed? The way you look at it, look at the performance, has it changed at all now that you're, I don't know, an adult, a fully formed adult?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm eternally grateful for that experience. And there was some sort of like, I don't know the number, it was like a 20th anniversary screening they had at, I think it was like the Japanese American National Museum in Los Angeles. And I braced myself because like, I really don't want to watch my performance from 20 years ago. But I thought it was, not me necessarily, but I thought the film as a whole was just great and trippy and out there and fantastic. And I learned, baptism by fire is a great way to describe it because I was just thrown into this process. I had never done a movie before. I had done maybe like an industrial, like on video for, I had just done theater. I had just done live theater before that. And it was fantastic. It basically taught me I'm going to say everything I know about acting on camera, because it was such an intimate experience that I could just ask the camera, when a camera person says, just do what you did, but just a little slower, I'd go, why? And he'd go, oh, because we're closer, so it's not going to capture faster movements. And I was like, and then they would show it to me. Like,
right.
It was fantastic. Like, I learned so much about the different lenses and adjusting, things on camera because it looks different. So even if you're walking like, or what they call it, banana, where you're walking in a curve, but it looks straight on camera, all that stuff
It was
I
like
learned.
a crash course in film acting.
It was a crash course. I mean, I loved it. And I really learned to trust my director because I didn't know what I was doing. And she was wonderful because I could tell if I wasn't giving her what she wanted. And so she would explain it to me, this. So it's not just getting what the director wants, it's how they communicate to you what is missing or what they want. But also, coming from theater, you just think like, I feel great, so the scene is great. But in film, it's so technical. And one scene I remember, I was walking upstairs and they had lit me between the rungs of the railing. And so I had to run upstairs and stop quickly because I see someone at the top of the stairs, but I had to stop so that the light lit my eye between the rungs of the handrail.
Wow.
So it was that type of, the things that I learned, but you had to be extremely technical, make it look real, and then also hide the fact that you're adjusting your position to make sure your eye is lit between the rungs of a handrail.
It's crazy.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like remembering technique. It's like, what? Remember to act. It's like, oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, that's right. Because once you get it, you're like, well, and they're like, great, we got it. And you're like, well, can we do it one more time where I actually act?
Right.
Bang, bang, moving on.
I took dance for many years, and I think that's where I was able to utilize my experience as a dancer, because you kind of have to separate parts of your body sometimes, and that was really helpful for anyone who is a dancer that wants to be an actor.
I mean, the movie's streaming on Criterion Channel right now. It's so good. I was not familiar with it, so it was a gift to be able to see it. It's really good and it holds up great.
It does? Okay.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I can't be objective about it, so I can only see it like, oh yeah, I remember when we went there.
I miss that sort of 90s indie style of filmmaking. So it's like every time I discovered those sort of coming of age 90s indie dramas, loving it. And it was beautiful and, like you said, trippy and weird and really great. Just like also a lot of great actresses in it as well.
Yeah, that's how I met Takayo Fisher, and
she's incredible.
Yeah, and that time, I've heard it referred to as the Asian American New Wave because it had like yellow. What is it? It was like 4 films, feature films that came out at the same time.
Oh,
and they all toured together. They did the festival circuit all together. So
it's very cool. Please go check it out. It's very good.
Okay, something very exciting. So you had a recurring role on season 4 of Snowfall, where you play journalist Irene Abe, who's trying to get to the bottom of one particular detective's death, and then you're trying to sort of draw the line between the CIA and the crack epidemic. And I thought it was really exciting to see you in a dramatic role, because we know you've, of the last, 15 plus years, like doing comedy. So question is, what was the audition process like? And was it like, did it feel like a particular win because this was this like prestige drama and they cast you in this role where you are like a comedy woman in this scene, and like it was nice to see you play against type a little bit?
I mean, I love doing drama. I love doing whatever I didn't do the last project I did.
Yeah.
I love the role. I love that I rarely play specifically either Japanese American or even Asian American.
Interesting.
And so I love that the writers and the showrunner, Dave Andron, incorporated the presence of Japanese Americans in South Central at that time, because there's a history of Japanese Americans in Los Angeles. And I love the character. And it's based on a real person. The real person was a white male journalist.
That's cool that they reimagined it with the history and context.
Yeah, because she would be there, present in that community, and it would affect her personally. And there's something about when it's written well and you like the role. It's easier to memorize, number one. And number two, it's a joy to do, right? And so when you leave, and this is my experience at least, when I leave, I think, I don't care if I get it or not. Because like that's how fun it was. And I also feel like that's what I have to offer. If you don't hire me,
attitude.
I can't help you. Like if
Right.
you know, that's the puzzle piece I'm offering you.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't fit, I cannot help you because I cannot change the shape of my puzzle piece.
Have you always had that attitude as approaching like auditions and the business in general?
I developed it after like a really good audition. I was like, I don't fucking care if I get this or not. Like there was almost like that was so fun to do that anything after this is cake.
Yeah, okay, I like that a lot.
And I think coming from a sketch background, comedy background, you only play characters for 2 minutes anyway. So that's what auditions are for me. Mm-hmm. And you're playing for audiences of 2 people or 4 or 8 or whatever in different size rooms. And so you just sort of adjust. You know, I mean, back before Zoom auditions, you would go to 2, 3, sometimes 4 a day, and you would just change clothes in your car, play a character for 2.5 minutes, then go and change clothes in your car, and then play another character for 90 seconds. And that was just really fun for me because they were all varied and different, and it was creative for me because when you're first starting out, the description just says nurse.
Right.
So what I had to offer was like, I can do whatever I want. And that was the creative process for me.
Okay, so Suzy, switching gears a little bit, you got your start, for those that don't know, in Second City, and then you've cut your teeth on some of these huge comedies from the early aughts: Horrible Bosses 2, Evan Almighty, Dodgeball, and 3 Judd Apatow films, including This Is 40, The 40-Year-Old Virgin, and Funny People. But those 3 are apparently uncredited. Like, what the fuck gives? What is that about?
Judd likes to, invite improvisers and people in comedy to play, and when he does the final cut, it doesn't all fit in because he just lets us go.
Like 1,700 hours of footage.
Yeah. And when I first started with him, he was shooting on film.
Oh my God.
Wow.
It's expensive, right?
It's expensive.
I was watching the 40-Year-Old Virgin, like I was like, oh, I know that scene perfectly. I gotta watch it. And then I was like, where is she? Where is she? And I was like, oh, there she is. Then I was like, oh, well, what is this? What gives? Like, there has to be a story behind this. Like, my assumption was that you were sort of all improvising in that scene, and he's just, it's like a little bit scripted, there's structure, but
I think I end up in a lot of the DVD extras. I know I was in for Funny People, where I played Ken Jeong's wife. That's where I think the idea was planted for me to be his wife for Dr. Ken.
Okay.
We played this couple in a fake 80s movie, and it was super fun. Super, super racist, like a lot of 80s films were.
Right.
But for us to be able to lean into that, to shine a light at how awful those movies were, was really gratifying. Yeah.
How bro-y are some of those, like, male-driven comedy sets? If so, I mean, I know that's kind of broad.
I mean, fucking comedy in general is bro-y.
Yeah.
And it's not outwardly exclusionary, but look, we've come leaps and bounds. But it's also like the perception too of women or people of color, or fill in the blank. It's interesting because even though I'm given the opportunity, sometimes I feel like I can also be viewed as an accessory to a white male story. Mm-hmm. So like even if you get equal screen time or equal credit or whatever, because we all grew up in this world, audiences might go, oh, she's an accessory to this main story. Mm-hmm. So that's my definition of bro-y. It's just like, I don't know how. It's not bro-y like they're not high-fiving and like that, but the new definition of bro-y for me is just the way our stories are perceived. And also as a woman and a person of color, I've been sort of shoehorned into stories that were written for someone else, right? And I've played a lot of men's roles too.
Interesting. Okay.
Can you give me an example of that?
Well, when I first came out here, I thought I was in Los Angeles for a second. When I first moved to Los Angeles, all the funny roles were written for men. And so I said to my agent, like, can I just audition for those roles because the part of the woman is there's no jokes, there's
right.
nothing funny, and to their credit, shout out to innovative artists, they started submitting me for men's roles, and the first role I got was a guy named Peter on this sitcom, and I got it, and it became a recurring character. They changed the name to Suzy, but the role was a lawyer, so it's like it doesn't matter what gender this person is. Can I just do that? And then I got a pilot for the role of Robbie for the they made a television pilot of the movie The Player.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
And they kept the name Robbie.
Roberta.
And they kept the dialogue too, which is, you know, she was just asking about if women were single and shit like that. But it was a great script. But, you know, there was another one too. Oh, I did a series where the description was like a 40-year-old Italian woman, and I got that too. And they didn't change the name, so I was Beverly Andolini.
I thought it was like Lucia.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's great that I had the opportunity, and it's great that I was on television, but the characters weren't written for me specifically. And so I think that's what's changing right now, is that the stories are becoming more diverse. It's not just the faces. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah. We were sort of looking at all of the ensemble comedies that you've been in. One of them that I love is Afternoon Delight, the Joey Soloway movie.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was interesting to sort of compare these like group scenes, because it's you, Jessica St. Clair, and Michaela Watkins, and Annie Mumolo as Catherine Hahn's best friends. Like, it's an incredible cast. And as I was watching it again, because we actually interviewed Michaela Watkins during the pandemic at some point.
They're all so great.
So good.
That's how I met Jessica.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
So it was so fun, because in my head, it's like these, you know, women in LA going to like yoga classes and drinking a lot of wine. But then it's like the opposite side of like a Nancy Meyers group scene, where that like scene where they get super wasted at the poker night goes so dark. And like, was that all improvised? Like, I don't know what Joey Soloway's sets looked like, but how was that, particularly in comparison to some of these other ensemble comedies where you're playing opposite a lot of men?
I have to say, I didn't know what to expect, but there's something about the way women communicate, the nonverbal communication that we have, and the trust and the support, and I don't know how else to describe it, the helping. Like, I don't know if we do it instinctively or whatever, and not to make, you know, sweeping generalizations about gender, but I feel
love
that's,
doing it on this podcast.
We do it all the time.
because we have that on POTUS too. I'm trying to use words that don't sound like dumb, but they're
It's hard. I'm with you.
but it feels safer. And when you're trying to create, you have to feel safe. And I think when people panic, they try and be funny, right? But that experience on Afternoon Delight, there was just this feeling of safety. And Joey just did this thing too, where like, let's just focus, let's hold hands, and some like hippy dippy shit that I was not into it. I was like, oh great, all right, I'll do this. But then it was fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
And it really helped. It was just like, everyone stop before we do this scene, and let's just focus. And I you know, I don't ever want to do it again, but I would, because I think it worked. But it sort of added to that feeling of like, let's let all of our egos go right now, and then and play.
Yeah.
And we use the word play a lot in improvisation, but I don't know if people understand that, but it just means like feel safe.
It translates in that film. I just feel like there were multiple group scenes, but then leading up to that culminating scene, and it's so intense, but also hysterical and so strange. Yeah, it's really good.
So based on all of that, I'm interested to know, so you also have a role in Christopher Guest for Your Consideration. You are like a camera operator for Home for Purim, which is the movie within the movie.
Yeah.
We're obsessed with Christopher Guest films, obviously. Like, how did that sort of improvisational set, which seems very different than maybe both other versions, because it sort of seems more theatrical. I don't even know. What was that vibe?
I mean, we were just...
Also, you're just like watching them act, right? Because you're the camera operator.
Yeah. And I think he just wanted everyone on the set, or everyone in the cast rather, to be improvisers, right? And because you kind of have to, because you don't know what's going to happen. And so it was all groundlings and Second City people just sort of filling these spaces. But it was fascinating because on the makeup bags, it would say like your name and then like the character you were playing, but also the character you were in the movie, in the fake movie.
Right. Right.
So it could get confusing, but that's another great space. I have to use these words.
Yeah.
That's another great space where you feel safe and you feel like you're surrounded with your kin, your improv kin. And I know that the improv world can feel exclusionary sometimes, but I think it's because we have a shorthand and a language that we use, and it's about trust, so that we can feel free to play.
Can I ask what's probably like an unprofessional question, but I feel like my own anxiety about it would be like, did you really just like clear your brain going into set when you're going to, like, the structure of the scene for the day, but in my head, even though I know this is completely against the ethos of improvisation, when you'd be like, what if I have this bit? What if I just like have this character bit inside my head? Do you really let go of all of that because you're such a professional and like this is your job?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that I do it to be professional. You have to do it to make it work.
Yeah.
If you come in with a bit or a preconceived notion or whatever, you can really ruin a scene or a setup, and you could really fail. I mean, the important part for this type of stuff is you can fail your scene partner because it's basically a form of denial if you bring something in.
Right.
And I think that's why what we need to stress about ensemble acting is that your job is to make the other person look good. But everyone has to do it. Everyone has to do it. And of course you come in with preconceived notions. Of course you do. But you have to let that go because what's coming at you is another gift. Like they're giving you gifts. And so to have an idea is to just deny that gift.
Yeah.
It has to, and I hate to keep bringing it back to the show, but that's what the show I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
But like that's what we all have to do. And Rachel Dratch described it perfectly recently. She's like, we're just throwing the ball. Like you throw the ball and everyone gets to hold the ball and throw it and all that stuff. And and the show is so fast that you have to have that trust and you have to have that sense of play. And it's really great because everyone on stage is making someone else look good.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned this earlier, but you were a series regular on Dr. Ken Jeong's eponymous sitcom where you play his wife, Allison. And I've watched an interview where you guys said that you knew each other and obviously had also done Funny People together. But like, what was your relationship prior to that show? And like, how did it happen that you got to be his wife when he got his own series?
We did this show. Oh God, I don't know what year it was. He was still a doctor. It was called, Asia Street Comedy. Okay?
Was it a live show or
It was like, I don't even know where it, I never saw it. I don't even know where it played, but they had great writers on it, Kevin Kataoka, and I got to play with all these Asian Americans in Los Angeles. I don't know if anyone was able to see it. The title is just embarrassing, but I had the best time. And that's how I met Ken on this stupid show called Asia Street Comedy, where we just did sketches and bits and dumb shit, and it was great. And then we did Funny People, and then we did Dr. Ken.
Were you on like his short list when he got the deal? Was he like, this is who I want as my wife? Or was he like were you like on his short list from that? Was planted?
I think so. I mean, that's what he told me. And so like,
You're a great foil to him because you're like pragmatic and charming to his sort of like goofball.
Yeah, it was really fun to play. I guess I was basically the straight man.
But sometimes, but not always, yeah.
Not always. That was the other thing. They let me be goofy on that show. But I love straight men. I think it's a skill that is underappreciated.
Totally.
Yeah.
And you remember that SCTV skit called Half-Wits where they just have a panel of dumb people?
Obsessed with it.
the host is the funniest to me.
That's Eugene Levy, right?
That's Eugene Levy.
Yeah. Me and my siblings always say, like, Marker, keep your grubby fingers off the buzzer, because, like, he would always yell at Catherine O'Hara whenever she would, like, hit it. Yeah, you're right. He carries the scene.
To me, that's funny. And, like, you know, Dean Martin and all that stuff. So it's really funny to play the straight man.
So
and in a way, I'm Josh Gad's straight man, too.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So you're the Dean Martin to Ken Jeong's
Jerry Lewis.
Yeah.
That actually, yeah.
I'm into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, I find it gratifying. If you can see half-wits.
Yeah, I don't think I know it.
Oh, we need to show
yeah,
you it
I know. I don't think
immediately.
I don't remember that sketch.
He's hilarious.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
He's my favorite part of that.
Do you know which one I'm talking about, where Catherine O'Hara just keeps buzzing in and she's like, what is the Beatles?
Yes.
And he's like, stop it. And she just buzzes in the whole time and keeps saying, like, saying the Beatles is, like, her answer.
It's him just getting, like, slightly frustrated, but also knowing he's on camera, struggling to keep it together. I don't know. I love it.
I love that. So Dr. Ken was like it's historic because it's like one of a handful of network TV shows that has like an Asian American cast, including like All American Girl and Fresh Off the Boat. Was there any sense of that? Like, did you feel the historic nature of that or the significance of it while you were in it?
I felt the historic nature as we were developing new stories, because I was used to not having a voice.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, writers or showrunners even coming to us about identity or family or culture or character. Well, first of all, you know, they established that Ken was Korean American and that Allison was Japanese American, and it was basically they had a mixed.
Right.
That's
but
cool.
like that is rare for network
It's
television
so
to ever make
rare.
any
Yes.
differentiation between Asian characters on screen.
Yes, and so when we did this Thanksgiving episode where there's basically a debate and a fight of whether they should serve Korean food or Japanese food, I was like, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
Yeah,
and then
I'm
we
obsessed
also
with that.
did a Halloween episode where we used Korean folktales. And I was like, I know this has never happened before.
Right.
I know people have never asked us.
Legitimately.
Yeah.
Did people come out of the woodwork, and did you hear from the audience? Because I feel like network TV has such a reach that niche cable dramas, even if they're getting all of the awards,
Especially now with social media.
Yeah, it's like networks, that sort of reach is very real when you're in people's living rooms every week.
Yeah, and I think we felt it from Twitter only because we would live tweet the episodes.
Yeah.
And so we got to sort of interact with the people that were watching it, sometimes in real time on Twitter. And it was just great. It was great. Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so Suzy Nakamura, we've reached the part of the show we call the rapid fire.
Okay.
It's rapid for us. You can be rapid if you want. Take as much time as you need. Okay.
Nervous.
Okay, here we go.
Nervous.
All right, Suzy, you have a memorable recurring role in the Netflix series Dead to Me, which we love, where you play Christina Applegate's orange wine drinking nosy neighbor Karen. We love this character. Was there any of Karen's dialogue that was improvised we couldn't tell, and what exactly is a Mexican lasagna?
Some of the dialogue is improvised because Christina Applegate is a gifted and natural improviser. And our director and showrunner, Liz Feldman, would just not say cut. We would, look, the scripts are written fantastically, and we did what was written, but then they would not yell cut, and Christina and I would just continue. And a lot of the end of the scenes were kept in the final episodes.
Yeah.
What was the second part of the question?
No, really, that was really...
Oh, what's
that
a
was-
Mexican
oh,
lasagna?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You didn't prepare that. you were like...
No, but the prop that I held was a real, it was real food, and it was really heavy. And then,
Gravitas.
yeah.
Did you know that Karen was going to be like, I don't know how much they give you when you get the role, like, or was it like you had such a good dynamic with Christina? It was just such a weird, specific
You, like, start the
relationship.
first episode, don't
and
you?
it's like, oh, they're for sure going to bring Karen back. And then by season 2, I was like, is Karen in the mystery? I was like, is she part of all of it? And then I was like, well, I won't reveal anything. But I just felt like there's probably a version where they're like, she's incredible. This dynamic's so good. Let's write her in more scenes.
I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but I auditioned for the Mexican lasagna scene, and that was the only scene in the episode.
Yeah.
It was in the middle of the episode, but they liked it so much that they said, we want to start the episode with this scene. But we had shot it already at night. But for it to work at the top of the episode, we had to shoot it during the day. So I reshot that scene during the day. And then they brought me back, and then Karen became a recurring character. And I shot season 3.
It's in the bag.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't know. I'm so excited. It's such a great show. Also on Netflix right now, like you know how it like pops up to play when you open Netflix? It's like your scene is the scene for Dead to Me. So it's like your face is the Dead to Me face.
That's so crazy because it was just that one tiny scene.
Yeah. It makes a huge impact. It's very good.
Yeah, good. That makes me happy.
I think the show's great. I think Liz Feldman's great.
Yeah.
I'm so glad there's a season 3.
Me too.
Yeah.
Suzy Nakamura, what was more cutthroat, Second City or the set of an improvisational Judd Apatow dramedy?
Cutthroat?
Mm-hmm.
What does cutthroat mean?
Competitive or like...
Everybody's sizing each other up, egos on display.
I don't think that even exists in improv unless I'm being naive.
I think you've probably reached a point.
Yeah, you're
you are
successful
well
and also you're
respected.
top of the chain.
Yeah,
you, don't
you are the
remember
top
what
of the
it's
food
like
chain.
when
That's
you're-
true.
Yeah.
Well, I was also really young when I was at Second City, so I know there was a lot of grumbling and that kind of stuff, but I was always like, I toured with people that were sometimes 10 years older than me, and I remember them just bitching about the hotels and the fucking gas station dinners and shit, and the whole time I was like, this is great.
Yeah, this is so cool.
Like I was just having so much fun, so I know that my experience was different, but I also feel that improv is so much about giving gifts, trust, sharing, listening, that if you were a prick, I don't know how long you would last, number one, and I also don't know how great of an improviser you'd be.
That's interesting. I appreciate that. I wonder if it has changed like in our era or because now people see it as an opportunity to get to Hollywood. You know what I mean? Now people think of it as like it's grad school and like I get on the main stage of UCB or Groundlings or Second City and it's less about like, it's like how do I get on the staff of like a writing, you know what I mean? And less about like, I love this. I'm sure, I know that there's people like this because I know them, but also feel like there's definitely a sense of like, get out of my way, loser. I need to get on the main stage.
I also think that Chicago improv is different than improv in
Totally.
New York and LA, because in Chicago, at least when I was there, it wasn't like classes to get on a show. It was classes to think on your feet, unlearn, the preconceived ideas. And so the people that were taking the classes were teachers, lawyers who want to do better in court, lecturers, accountants who just want to, housewives that wanted to do something. So it wasn't a bunch of actors like, give me some stage time.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was more like, oh, okay, I'm free to fail. And that's the other thing too, like when you have to leave your ego at the door because you have to fail. You have to fail over and over and over again.
That's pure and sounds like a very healthy relationship to it, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm sure it's different now.
Okay. What was more difficult, balancing that Marge Simpson-esque wig in the Kid Spy film, Doubting Thomas, Spies and Lies, or pretending that Jim Belushi was funny?
Pretending that Jim Belushi was funny.
Yeah. Can only imagine.
Uh-huh. It would have been easier to balance Jim Belushi on my head.
Jesus Christ. Yes, you gave us, yeah.
Okay.
We're with you. Great. Okay. You have a small role in the film 8mm. What was it like working with heterosexual legend Nicolas Cage and homosexual legend Joel Schumacher?
It was really fun.
Yeah.
I remember I had to play some computer person, and they put me in makeup and wardrobe, and they literally like bring you to Joel. I mean, I don't know if I'm making this up, but my recollection is someone just sort of just like taking my arm and putting me literally in front of him in the director's chair, and I remember him saying like, "No, she's too pretty." Meaning, like, not that I'm pretty, but that I wasn't. I was
You were too glam for the role.
glammed up, and
To be a computer person.
And so I remember I had to go back. I had to go back into the makeup chair, and then they just did something with my hair and makeup. I'm sure they removed some stuff. And then Nicholas was great because we were talking about food, and he said, "Oh, have you ever been to?" And then it was a really expensive restaurant, and I was like, "No."
reading something on Twitter that like he found some restaurant that had like square-shaped spaghetti pasta, and he was so obsessed with it that he went there every single day while he was shooting this film because he couldn't get enough of the square-shaped spaghetti.
I mean, the fact that we just talked about food makes me think like he just fucking loves food.
Yeah, he's a Coppola.
He asked me like, why haven't you been to this restaurant? I'm like, because I can't afford it.
He should have taken you then. That
Right, he's a little out of touch. He's out of touch.
He should have taken you then.
I'm glad he just keeps asking the question, but really, Suzy, why have you not been?
Okay, Suzy, last question. You've been working in television since 1996 and have appeared in nearly every show. Some credits include Modern Family, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Blackish, The Closer, 8 Simple Rules, The King of Queens, According to Jim, Half and Half, Help Me, Help You, Grey's Anatomy, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Castle, 10 Things I Hate About You, How I Met Your Mother, Private Practice, The Middle, and Bones. Wow. Which of those shows felt like a natural fit? And which felt like, oh my God, get me the fuck out of here?
The natural fit was Modern Family, because I knew those guys from another show I did with them. It was called Back to You with Patricia Heaton and Kelsey Grammer. That's how I met Josh Gad. We were on Back to You together.
Oh, I remember that.
And then when it was canceled, Steve and Chris brought me in for Modern Family. It was just fun. And they actually came to me with the joke, and they said, "Be honest, is this funny or is this racist?" And I read it. I go, "Look, I think it's hilarious, and I will fucking do it. And if anyone gives you shit, direct them to me."
Yeah.
And that was the
car scene.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, yeah, the car scene. Right. But because it's like the setup that you think you're getting, and then the swerve, which is why the payoff is good, I think.
I think so too. And I just wanted to do it because I think it maybe takes on a different meaning. I don't know. Does it take on a different meaning if I say it's okay?
I mean, I'm not going to say that for you, but I think that there is something to be said when the person has agency. So the character that is making the joke is the person saying it and executing it, as opposed to a joke being made about somebody off camera. Or I think that is the difference for me as a viewer, but also I'm not, the person to tell you that.
Yes, but I also felt like I'm making fun of that joke.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I don't even know if that's true or not, but that's how I felt. So that was a very comfortable environment for me. And I knew Eric so at the time, so it was just really fun.
What was oh my God, get me out of here? It was Bones, or According to Jim, is my guess.
It's, you know what? You called it. It's a kind of a toss-up.
We've heard stories about Boreanaz on this show.
Multiple actresses have told us he doesn't do coverage.
He doesn't do coverage, and I'm going to humanize him. Mm-hmm. I don't think he wanted to be there anymore.
Yeah.
You're making a shit ton of money.
Though.
Yeah.
You're sending multiple generations of your kids to college. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but there are times, when you don't want to be somewhere anymore, and there's no amount of money that will make it okay.
I think Bones is officially over, so.
Yeah, and he wasn't awful. He wasn't rude. I could just tell he just didn't want to do it anymore. And as an actor, I was like, look, if he was mean to anyone else, that's awful. But that was not my experience. I kind of felt sorry for him.
Okay.
I felt sorry for him because all I can think of is that day in the fucking bathtub where it's like, I don't want to do this. I don't think I can do this.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he couldn't do it. I'm just saying there are times where you're like, get me the fuck out of here.
Right.
There's no amount of money. And then, according to Jim, was like, oh, God. And this, I wasn't confident enough, and I don't think I had enough status to say anything. Maybe I did. But I should have said something about the name. My character's name was like Yuki, and they wanted it to be a play on Yoko Ono.
Oh.
It was fucking awful. And I know Larry Joe Campbell because he's from Second City too. But I didn't know enough to say anything.
Yeah.
And it's also like a regret I have.
I mean, it's hard. Also, like TV jobs, like I would assume that you get this good job and you're like, let me take it. Yeah. And then you get there and you're like, what the fuck is this? This is what I'm doing. And then, I don't know.
It's
The
like
paycheck
someone
is
showing you a
good.
pamphlet of like a tropical place, and you go and you're like, and then based on the photo, and then you go and you're like, what the fuck?
Right.
This is not a glass bottom boat at all.
Right.
But you're already there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are no flights out. Like, get me out of this. Get me out of this, please. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
and a lot of people think that you know it's your show because you're in it, and when they come bitch to you, and you're like, dude, I did not fucking write this.
Yeah.
Right. Right. I'm trying to like build my resume. I'm trying to get
keep
these
my
TV
health insurance.
gigs.
Like,
It was different when I got the script,
Right,
and then
right.
they changed it.
They're punching things up and they're not good.
They're punching down. Yeah.
That's why I never tell people that I'm doing a show because I never tell them.
Yeah.
Because if they see it and you're cut out, they're mad at you. They're mad at you.
Yeah.
Stupid.
You're the face of it, so you get the brunt, even though you're like, I'm just I'm
Never
a
worked
working
out.
actor.
It's never worked out. I don't feel that way about POTUS.
No,
Please come see POTUS.
Please come see POTUS. We're so excited to be seeing it. We're seeing it in a couple of weeks, and we love the whole cast, and we're so glad that you finally got to Broadway. And I hope, like, as your experience means that you're coming back, would you come back?
I would absolutely come back.
Okay, great.
I'd
That's all I need
like,
to know.
yeah. I love live theater. I love, doing something different, and this definitely was different.
Yeah.
And this is the only all-female farce.
That's very cool.
I cannot wait to see it. I'm so excited. And I don't even know what the reveal is that you're alluding to, and hopefully it's related to your lesbianism.
Yes.
Great.
We'll be there. Suzy Nakamura, this has been a total romp. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you
for coming over.
Thank you for letting us come over.
Yeah, you should come in with this interview because you had a lot to say about Jim Belushi.
I don't know why I've hated him for so long, but I just always have wanted to ask actresses about being on According to Jim because for some reason it's a show that sticks in my craw. Courtney Thorne-Smith is his wife. It was like the epitome of like fat man, skinny blonde wife, skinny pretty wife of the like late 90s, early aughts. And I feel like Suzy gave up the goods in the best possible way, which is just to say he was difficult. He wasn't funny. And of course, the running thread of this podcast, David Boreanaz will not do coverage.
We will take him down.
That was a really satisfying moment for me where she was like, well, you nailed it. And whether or not Suzy just didn't want to answer the question and I had already put it in her mouth and she agreed, or it was the truth, I'm here for it.
Well, that was so fun, and like I just loved getting to talk to her about Hugh Laurie playing Vincent Minnelli, and getting to talk to her about Halfwits with Catherine O'Hara. Well, I mean, Catherine O'Hara is my takeaway from it, but she was obviously talking about Eugene Levy, but worth looking that up. It's a very excellent sketch from SCTV.
Yeah, I feel a little embarrassed that it was a blind spot for me considering I do like SCTV. I don't know it forwards and backwards, but I watched it this afternoon before we were recording, and I was so taken with Eugene Levy, who was really, like, I'm not denying that he is a sexual being, but there was something about his demeanor as Alex, I think his character's name is Alex Treble, and he was very sexual. Also, I just want to pitch one more time. Please go see Strawberry Fields. It's on the Criterion channel. It's so good. It's streaming. It's wonderful to see Suzy do drama as a young person. And also, if you haven't watched Dead to Me, I loved every second of it. It's streaming on Netflix, seasons 1 and 2. There are gay undercurrents for those of you who need that in order to watch programming. There are some gay subtext, tonals happening, and Suzy's so funny. It was really when we saw Suzy in Dead to Me that we said we have to get her for the show.
Also, you saw POTUS.
I did. I saw POTUS, and I have to tell you, run, don't walk. It was one of the best times I'd had in the theater in a long time. And it just so happens that the night that I went, one Miss Hillary Rodham Clinton was in attendance with the Secret Service. She got a standing ovation when she rolled in. It was one of the strangest, like most odd, very New York experiences. And of course, there's like intern, like sex jokes. And also there's enough material in it that's alludes to, in a roundabout way, the 2016 election and women in power. So there were a lot of applause lines that people paused for to like stare at Hillary Clinton. Like what, just a weird social experiment to like be a part of. But I have to say, the show is a farce. It's an all-female cast. Everyone is incredible. Suzy is so funny. Yes, she plays a lesbian in it. Yes, Leah Delaria is in it. Yes, Vanessa Williams is excellent. Yes, Rachel Dratch steals the show. Yes, Julie White is incredible. Lily Cooper is so good. And let me tell you, Julianne Hough, revelation. I'm putting it here. We've talked about her multiple times on the show, and I have to say, she was very good.
Wow. Quite the endorsement.
It's very... Go get a ticket to POTUS. It closes on August 14th. Please go see it. We need Suzy Nakamura back on Broadway, so please make sure that you're going to support that show.
Okay, folks, so you know that this is a special summer episode, and so we're not going to do a connection to next month's summer episode because we don't know exactly how it's all going to shake out yet. So, with that said, we're going to keep things moving, but we want you to be plugged in, following us so that you know when we are coming back for season 5. So follow us on social media. You can find me at Damian Bellino. It's Damian with an A. And you can find my tall...
That's the only word he can use to describe me. He paused for a long time.
You can find my tall and generous Mrs. Bryce over here on social at Rodemanne. That's RODEMANNE.
And also, if you didn't get any anonymous questions in on Damian's anonymous questions Instagram post, I'm sure he'll still accept them.
I've stopped. My real friends told me to stop, but people did keep saying, keep doing it.
I'm just going to say, if he's not putting the prompt on Instagram, like I said, create that Lea Michele shits 1234 Gmail and send them. He will respond.
I will. It was so satisfying.
Dearest Ones, the show you might know her from is produced by us. That's Damian Bellino and Anna Rodeman. And we want to thank our consultants who keep us chugging along, that keep our brain stems attached to our cerebellums. I'm not sure that that's how it works, but they keep our neck, our shoulders attached to our neck, attached to our head. That is Grumpy Entertainment. They are beautiful humans who just like are the blood in our veins. That's Jason Jude Hill and Daniel Sears. And all the editing that you hear on each and every episode of You Might Know Her From, and let's be honest, this one might require a lot, is Daniel Sears. Thank you, Daniel.
Did you see Cerebellum? She is playing the baker's wife, and she said she gave her a first name, and it's Rebecca.
I just want to check in to make sure that you know that you just called her Cerebellum.
Yes, it was a bit. Oh my God. This has come to the end of the show.
I was into that. I thought she was good.
Rebecca Wife is her name.
That seems right. I'm going to tell you that at one point somebody said, you know what, if your name wasn't Anne, you know what it would be? And I knew that I didn't want to hear the answer. It's like anybody that starts anything like that, you don't ever want to know. Guess what they said? Don't answer. I'm just going to tell you because I don't want to know what you think. It was Ruth.
Oh, actually, I've heard this story from you before. I love the name Ruth, honestly.
I do too, but it's very Frances Conroy in 6 Feet Under, and it's like, yes, I understand why I'm getting Ruth, but I would never tell someone that to their face.
In 3rd grade, someone said the same thing to me. They said, do you know what your name would be if it wasn't Damien? I have 2 options for you. Do you want to know what they were?
Yeah, tell me. I don't think I know the answer.
First one was Martin.
Okay. I don't see Martin.
And the second one was Melvin.
Okay. This person
I tried to fight the person. Dustin DeStanislaw. Fuck you.
Okay, that name is fake. Dustin DeStanislaw?
He can fuck himself.
He really had a bit with M's that week. He was like, I'm going to take Damien down. Oh, my God.
Please call me Martin from here on out.
I was going to say George.
Thanks, I'll take it. I feel like Marty or Georgie could be cute.
Yeah, that is cute. I like that.
Speaking of, while we're going long, I was going to be named Santino, which would have made my name Santino Bellino, which is a sandwich. And my parents were going to call me Sonny. And then when I came out, I was much blonder than they anticipated. But I say that because that name was pulled from The Godfather because of James Caan's character, and sadly he is dead.
He's dead
I
now.
just wanted to acknowledge that he has died and make it about me. So thank you. Send me more anonymous questions. And R.I.P. Say an R.I.P. to Sonny.
Sonny, Marty, Melvin.
Ow.
Special thanks to Gang. All the music that you hear on each and every episode of You Might Know Her From is courtesy of Gang. Gang is from Philly. They're 3/4 women, and you can download and stream Gang wherever you listen to music. And if you need to see that Halfwits clip because, like me, you're a halfwit who hadn't seen it when it originally aired or in reruns, it's going to be in the show notes. Those are at the bottom of each episode description. I spent a lot of time on it. It's what I've dedicated my life and no income to. So please click in and enjoy yourself. There's a treasure trove to be discovered. Jennifer Affleck.
Sadie. Speaking of funny girl.
I know, I was into her making a musical theater reference. She was supposed to star in Bye Bye Birdie, right? What happened to that?
It was supposed to be the NBC live event. Let's tweet at her, ask her now that she's an Affleck.
Miss Affleck, can't you get this produced now? Matt Damon's surely gonna greenlight it.
I don't know Bye Bye Birdie super well. I think I would be into her dancing Rosie.
Totally.
I don't know that she can sing it, but like I think the role does not require you to be an amazing singer, and I'm fine with it.
Correct.
But also, do you think? Okay, so for those who don't know, Jennifer Lopez married Ben Affleck, allegedly changed her name, and then posted on Instagram like a photo of her in bed today with like her wedding ring on. And the caption was like, Sadie, hashtag if you know, you know. And of course, it's a reference to Sadie Married Lady from Funny Girl. But here's my question. Did she take the temperature and realize all of the drama that's going on with Funny Girl and think it was funny?
I think she's totally oblivious to anything that's going on Broadway.
Yeah, I think she's totally oblivious to most things. She's just like such a famous person. But I have to say, like, she's obsessed with getting married and being in love. Yeah. And I'm not mad at that. I mean, that is an observation that I'm making. But yes. I do feel like she has really solidified herself as like our generation's Elizabeth Taylor in the way that she just continues to like be a huge movie star who like continues to like be so out there with her relationships and be like, I'm married to a famous person, I'm engaged to a famous person, that relationship's off, but now I'm back with my other famous person. It's like she's just between Alex Rodriguez, Mark Antony, Diddy, Ben Affleck.
Oh my God, I forgot about Diddy. That's right.
Then there was Casper the dancer, Chris Judd.
Yeah.
Then there was her. Yeah, she's just. I love her.
Yeah. No, I love her too.
Bitty Bitty Bumbo. We love you, Jennifer Affleck.
Let's get loud.